So today we are going to learn how to erase out the white part of a background from a drawing. So if you can look at this, this one, we are actually going to learn how to erase out the white part of the paper on here while leaving the lines perfect in order to color behind them. So basically we're creating a coloring book page, a simple one. Yeah. So what we need to do first is of course open up Photoshop at the bottom of the screen. Photoshop will take a second to upload. Anytime you are erasing on a background or starting a new document for a drawing or something in graphic design like the social justice poster we're currently working on, you're going to go ahead and want to make a new document. So once you open this, you go to the top and you do File, New. This is going to allow you to set the sizing that you want. I would suggest for a regular sheet of paper, it's 8.5 by 11 height, 300 resolution. But for what we're doing for a social justice poster, mine's actually going to be longer rather than taller. So I'm going to do my width at about, I actually kind of like this size. So I'm going to do 16 by 12. So longer rather than taller, 300, and it's in color and the background's white. So press OK. Great, and you have now just a simple box. The view I'm in for Photoshop allows me to see my layers and my colors and my history panel up here and all my tools. If you don't have something that looks like this, go ahead and go to Windows, Workspace, and reset painting or photo, whatever it's on, and it'll basically turn it into looking like this. All right, so we have to import the photograph. There's a couple ways to do that. The easiest way is to just go ahead and open where it was saved to and drag it onto there. Now, you remember that this is sideways. So before I put it on here, I'm actually going to drag it to the PS logo at the bottom of the screen so that, oh, excuse me, so that you can go ahead and rotate it. So image rotation counterclockwise. There we go. And so now it's rotated correctly. Now I'm just going to do File, Save, and that's going to save it as a JPEG. It's going to overwrite it. Now, anytime this comes up, you just want it to be 12 maximum, so it saves the biggest file possible. You press OK, and yeah, it's already finished. So that means that when we go back over here, see how it's the right way now? So I can close this out, and it's going to take me back to my blank page. Now, I'm going to go ahead and drag, I'm going to drag this onto here, boop, and great. And so that is perfect. I'm going to want to make it a little larger because this would be a very small image on my screen for my whole poster. So I'm going to hold Shift while I make it bigger. If I don't hold Shift, it clearly screws up the proportions. Command Z for undo. So I'm going to go ahead and hold Shift and stretch it from the corners. You can pretty much just decide how big you want your image at this point. I might do it a little smaller than I need it because I want a lot of room for my text and some white space. When you're happy with the size for now, press Enter or Return on the keyboard, and that's going to allow you to move on to the next step. So it's actually pretty simple to do this. If your drawing is not dark enough, you need to make sure this is very black. The line is very black before you begin. So you can go to Image, Adjustments, Levels, and you can go ahead and make sure you're on the same layer with the drawing, which we are. And you can basically, let me see which way. Yeah, there we go. From the left to the right, it'll make it, see here's a little lighter, there's a little darker, but mine was already pretty dark to begin with, so you're good, press OK. And then we're just going to use the background eraser. So right now, there's 3 different erasers hidden in here. If you click and hold and let go, you should get the 3 eraser options. We're using the background eraser. So you can go ahead and click that. There's a couple settings at the top that are incredibly important to making this work. One of which is the size. Right now my eraser is really big, which we want. It can be any size up here as long as you're comfortable with it. That's a little small, right? That would take a long time to erase the whole background, so there is good. You need to put it on this one of the 3 of these. This is, let's see if we hover, sampling background swatch. So just put it on this one, put it on limits discontinuous, tolerance 100%, and protect foreground color, so that should be checked. So these are all your settings for the top. One more thing, this has to be opposite of this, black and then white. So to make that happen, you click this tiny little part right here, and it turns it from black to white. There you go. And basically, now all you can do on the layer with your picture, you can go ahead and just erase your image. Now it looks like nothing's happening, which can be very stressful, but it's because we had the background checked. So do you see the difference? Like there was a white background underneath it. So if you turn that off with the little peekaboo, then that makes more sense and we can go ahead and erase. Yeah, so it's perfect now. It has this beautiful simple line quality, and when you turn the white background back on, you can see that it erased all of the whites back there, and it's lovely. You can do a couple things if your line isn't correct to clean up your line. You can actually paint on the computer using the paintbrush tool. You can change the brush by going all the way to the bottom and choosing, or sorry, not on the bottom of this, but choosing the brush you want. Some are ridiculous, like that's going to make crazy little lines. Command Z. You don't want anything like that, but what I like to do is go to the wheel, and I like to do the calligraphy brushes. You can add those to the bottom of this as an option if you press append. Append means add. OK just means get rid of all these. So do append. And then when you scroll down, you have some other options for simple calligraphy brushes. I don't know, we can try that. Yeah, see how it kind of varies the line length and weight? And then you can also make your size bigger, like make it a thicker line by changing your size. Command plus will help you zoom in. And the only reason I'm doing this is there are some extra lines on here from my paper and some missing lines where I might want to add something back in. Do you see how I'm able to draw with this brush right on top of my line? And it basically looks kind of seamless. Like his hair is a little crazy. I might want to switch that. Or I can go ahead and also go to the regular eraser tool. Right now it's giant. We don't want that. So we're going to make it much, much smaller, maybe around there. And we make sure it's at 100% for everything. So it's 100% erasing. And you can just go ahead and fix all those little extra miscellaneous parts. Or even in here, if you made a mistake on your line, you want to clean up your lines to make them as perfect as possible. And again, I'm not going to show you any more of this for ease of time, but I would sit here and do this for a little longer till I was happy with it. Okay, once you're happy with your drawing and you want to add color, you can just go ahead and take that layer and we're going to lock it. The reason we lock it is so we don't actually draw on it or move it. So click the lock button right here on this layer and it'll lock it. We need to make another layer, of course, for color. Every single color gets its own layer. So green and red would be on different layers. So we're going to go ahead and press the new layer button, this post-it note looking thing, and we have to drag it below. The reason we drag it is so it's underneath of this layer. So we can come up here to the left side, or any of these swatches would work also. But if you, let's say like, okay, I wanted blue, but I don't want that blue, then I can double click it and play around and change my blue. Make sense? So you're going to press OK. And then you're going to go back to the paintbrush because now we have the blue color we want, but we want to literally actually paint. We're going to choose any brush that we want. I mean, maybe something like that might be good. And the size can be larger, right? And let's say I'm going to color her pants in blue. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm on the layer. I'm going to double name this light blue. And I'm going to go ahead and start painting. Now I would zoom in a little. And then to get this little hand where I can move, I press the space bar. So I'm going to zoom in a little, and then I'm just going to go ahead and paint. Now you'll notice that it looks like magic that it's not showing up on these lines, but it's because it's underneath, right? So it's really easy for me to paint this in. I'm not doing an amazing job of it right now, but you can go ahead and erase out any parts that you make a mistake on. So you go back to the eraser. That's really tiny, so make it a little bigger. And then, yeah, you can just erase out anything that is an issue for you as you keep going. And again, you want to always make a new layer every time you do a different color. Yeah, that's it. And notice that if the layer was on top of that, do you see how different it would be? Because it's on top of the black line. So we always want it below the black line. And that's it. That's how you basically create a drawing to color from.